Episode 394.
Wang Jiexi has already done everything he possibly could. Whether this kid can seize the opportunity is entirely up to him now.
After exchanging greetings with the excellent Era team, Yu Wenzhou turned back and said directly. Huang Shaotian understood perfectly. Wang Jixi was holding back, but he couldn't make it too obvious. So, the only way was to use a couple fewer skill tiers, then let the slight deficit in damage output accumulate into a disadvantage during the fierce exchange. If Gao Yingji made any mistakes himself, Wang Jixi certainly wouldn't be buying any more openings to secure his victory. Even in a match that was being thrown, Gao Yingji would need a flawless performance to win. So, will Gao Yingji make a mistake? The two who knew the truth were now watching the match with exactly that mindset. But among all the spectators, they weren't the only ones thinking this way. And of course, there was Ye Shu. Yu Wenzhou had a reason for suddenly asking about Ye Shu. He was certain Ye Shu would have noticed it too. The layman sees the spectacle, the expert sees the technique. But in this duel, those with the eyes to see the true skill were pitifully few. And right then, another Molotov cocktail shattered in the match. The ground, corrupted by the magical item, instantly transformed into a churning, burning sea of lava. At the same moment, from two different spots in the arena, came a simultaneous, knowing sigh. One came from somewhere in the audience stands, the other from the section reserved for pro players. Meanwhile, among the pro players, more and more were murmuring their conclusion in hushed tones. Wang Jixi was about to lose. Wang Jixi's witch was now backed into a corner at the very edge of the map, with no room left to retreat. Gao Yingji's witch had thrown this lava flask. The searing magma burned across Wang Jixi's character. He had nowhere left to go. The witch's wide-area magic damage skills were incredibly effective at locking down the battlefield in a situation like this. Wang Jixi's witch shot upward, trying to break out of the corner, but Gao Yingji, whom he had just handed off to, had already anticipated the move. He flew up to intercept, hurled another acid rain and dry ice mid-air, and then closed in, his broom clashing with Wang Jixi's character in a fierce aerial duel. A relentless barrage of attacks left Wang Jixi's witch with no room to cast a single spell. From this moment on, the stalemate was broken. Wang Jixi was completely on the back foot, his character's health nearly gone. There was clearly no time left for him to pull off any tricks to escape this predicament. Wang Jiexi didn't give up on one last attempt, but it was ultimately futile. His witch was finally swept to the ground by Gao Yingji's character with a single broom strike, and never got up again. The entire arena gasped, then fell into a deathly silence. A moment later, a few scattered claps began to sound. Those few claps were contagious, and soon the applause swelled into a roaring wave. Though the outcome wasn't what many in the audience had hoped for, no one could deny it was an absolutely spectacular match. Among those applauding, two figures even rose to their feet, Yu Wenzhou from the player seats, and Ye Shu from the spectator stands. The brilliance they saw was not in the match itself, but in Wang Jixi's sacrifice throughout it. With deliberately incomplete skills, he scripted the entire match, dictating the very flow of the battle. So this entire match unfolded according to his plan. Even the potential for Gao Yingji's own mistakes, which Yu Wenzhou and Huang Shaotian had worried about, had already been factored into Wang Jixi's calculations. When is Gao Yingji most likely to make a mistake? Of course, at the final moment of the battle. The realization that he was about to defeat a god of the alliance, his own respected captain, would send shockwaves through this timid, shy boy's heart. This was a tough hurdle for Gao Yingji to get over, but Wang Jixi had seen it coming from the start. In the final moments of the fight, his character was forced back into a corner. Pinning an opponent in a corner is an extremely basic attack pattern for a witch. Not just Gao Yingji. In that situation, probably no witch player in the entire pro scene would have made a mistake. Even though Gao Yingji's emotions were in turmoil, This simple, familiar situation was enough to see him through the crisis. And so, Gao Yingge emerged victorious. Even Yu Wenzhou had missed a few things. Wang Jishi had done even more than he'd seen. He'd even paved the way, minimizing the chance of any mistake from Gao Yingji. It wasn't until Gao Yingji finally threw that lava flask that Yu Wenzhou and Yi Shu, who had long since guessed Wang Jishi's intent, simultaneously grasped the full scope of his plan. The captain of Tiny Herb had spared no effort to ensure Gao Yingji's victory in this match. He'd finally succeeded, and his brilliant performance earned him the sincere applause of two great masters.
That was a truly spectacular match.
Yi Shu said loudly to Chen Guo beside him. She was clapping too, but she couldn't understand why he was so excited he'd actually stood up. At first, she'd wondered if her own appreciation was lacking, if she just wasn't seeing the full brilliance of the play. But after a quick glance around, apart from Yi Shu, was there a single other spectator in the whole place who was so excited they'd jumped to their feet? Suspicious looks were coming from all directions, the kind that clearly said, "Look at the newbie."
Bravo, just brilliant. Now sit down.
Chen Guo spoke as she pulled at Ye Shu, but he stubbornly refused to sit down. She tugged twice without budging him, and could only lean to the side, copying Tang Ru's earlier act and pretending she didn't know him. Back on the stage, both Wang Jishi and Gao Yingji had left their booths. Gao Yingji had reverted to his timid, shrinking self, head bowed as he walked toward the center of the arena. The surrounding applause made him feel like he was in a dream. He could hardly believe what had just happened. Had he really defeated his captain, and in front of so many spectators? The All-Star Challenge was something his captain had him sign up for. Challenging the captain was also the captain's idea. In a match where victory or defeat wasn't really important, it was a chance to experience the atmosphere of a big stage. Gao Yingji felt he really should give this challenge a try, so he followed the captain's arrangement. Then, the captain told him to treat it like a finals match and give it his all. Gao Yingji did exactly that, but the fact that he actually managed to defeat the captain, that was something he had never even dared to imagine.